Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and as we continue our 5-part series entitled Sex, today we will talk about sex and marriage. A male and female who has a healthy acceptance of themselves about gender expectations in terms of they've been taught, and hopefully it has been modeled correctly before them, that they are male, they are female, and that they have self-worth as a male. They have self-worth as a female. They've received proper nurturing at some point in their development from infancy to the marriage state. Also, we're hoping that by the time a couple is married, they understand what it really means to be loved. And they also understand by the time of marriage what it means to be precious in the sight of another. So when you have a male and a female who engages or embarks into a marital relationship with a clear understanding of who they are as a sexual individual, it is a much better place mentally, socially, physically, and spiritually for them to enjoy a fulfilling sexual adulthood in marriage. According to Gottman in a 1994 study, he found that couples who are regulated have been regulated and are being regulated compared to couples who are unregulated, never been regulated, and can't be regulated in a marriage, are really two interesting group of people to study. Listen to Gottman's findings. In regulated couples, having 5 positive to 1 negative encounter with each other, the likelihood is they will have a healthy sexual marriage. But Gottman also found in the unregulated couples, those individuals who have less than 5 positive encounters, mostly comprised of criticism and complaining, contempt, defensiveness, and withdrawal, those individuals are more likely to have unfulfilling and struggles in sexual healthy marriages. Now, what Gottman also found is that couples, individuals, the individual male, the individual female, who become united in matrimony, each individual must bring a sexual satisfaction of regulated, or they will bring a sexual unsatisfied, unregulated self into the relationship. So imagine, if you would, one person comes into the marriage regulated, the other person comes into the marriage unregulated. You could almost predict the struggle within that relationship. The regulated couple has a much higher sexual satisfaction view in the overall marital relationship. And again, this is from a Gottman study in 1994. A 2011 study conducted by Dr. Anthony Pike at the University of Iowa found that when sexual intercourse and ongoing premarital sex was engaged in during the adolescent years, marital disruptions were much more probable. Now, listen to what Pike says. He found that when sexual intercourse, when the two genders, the male and the female, ongoingly, before they are married, engage in sex, and especially if they begin this sexual interaction during the adolescent years, they are higher in probability to have less satisfied marital sexual encounters. Dr. Pike's findings were especially true when the sexual engagements were unwanted, which was found to be especially true in most young girls. In essence, the sexual experiences of premarital sex, premarital intercourse by most young girls was due to pressure during the adolescent years as well as during those young adult years, which was due to fear of not being accepted, not being loved, or not being nurtured. Oftentimes, it overflowed into the marriage, causing the spouse to feel pressured from the other spouse. So in essence, what Pyatt found is that although adolescent girls were active sexually, what was discovered is that for the most part, it was either out of duress, it was either forced, or it was not really internally what they really wanted to do. And then when premarital sex was within, or when premarital sex was with one person prior to marriage, and those two individuals married, the feel of pressure was not very significant. This was also based on the individual not being forced and pressured into sexual encounters with the person. When premarital sex was with one person prior to marriage, and then those people married, what was discovered is that that marriage was more higher in gratification with sexual intimacy. Now, according to a 2006 U.S. Census Bureau study, the average age for marriage for females is 27, and the average age for marriage with males is 25. What does this have to do with sexual satisfaction in marriage, you might ask? This allows for much more time for both the male and the females to engage in risky sexual behavior before marriage. So in essence, the longer that individuals are single, the more higher the probability, especially in the 21st century, it is for them to engage in premarital sexual encounters. Now, when marriage is seen as the place for security only, or child rearing only, or stability only, it really is going to skew sexual gratification in the relationship. Keep in mind that marriage is supposed to be the encompassing spectrum of happiness for the husband and the wife. But when it is only seen as an escape, sexual intimacy is going to be marginal. Sexual intimacy, when it is seen as a duty, it's going to inhibit sexual gratification between the couples. When sexual intimacy is seen as not important, it's going to inhibit full gratification of the two within the relationship. Even if sexual intimacy is seen as a reminder of the pain from the past, from the adolescent years, then sexual intimacy within the marriage is going to be less pleasurable. And when sexual intimacy is seen as someone controlling the other person, then sexual intimacy is going to be restricted in the relationship. In the book of Hebrews 13, verse 4, the Bible says, marriage is honorable in every way, and the bed undefiled. That word bed is where we get our word coitus, copulation. It's the coming together place for the two sexes, the two genders, the male and the female, for the purpose of intersecting or intercoursing as one. Sex in marriage is the place, but the place should be a happy and it should be a mutual gratifying place for all. I'll see you back in class again next time. Don't be late and don't skip class.